Hi, this is Karen Kolbe, and I'm coming to you today as Mother Goose. I like to read, and I like to read to children. I read fairy tales, golden books, and Mother Goose poems. This is my friend Feathers. Feathers comes along with me. Feathers likes to listen to stories, and I hope you do too. This is a little golden book called The Littlest Christmas Elf. Alistair the elf was excited. Today he was leaving for the North Pole. The whole village of elfin commerce had come to say goodbye. Even the mayor was there. This year Santa had sent for our merriest elf to join his workshop, the mayor said. We will miss Alistair's songs and stories, yet Santa needs the best, and Alistair is our very special elf. There's a picture of all of the elves and the mayor and their little village. But when Alistair arrived at the North Pole, he didn't feel special at all. He was the littlest elf there. He was so tiny that the head elf, McCafferty, couldn't find him a job. McCafferty gave Alistair a wagon to build, but Alistair was too small to hammer. He gave him a dollhouse to paint, but Alistair couldn't reach the roof. He gave him some bears to stuff, but that didn't work either. He's buried underneath them, said the elf in charge. Look at Alistair. He's clear down under all the bears that he's supposed to stuff. Oh dear. McCafferty shook his head. Just 2 weeks until Christmas, and we still have so much work to do. We have to find you a job. Perhaps you can sweep. But even the broom was too big for Alistair, and the other elves began to laugh. Why, he's just a runt, said one elf. He poked a friend and giggled. He's smaller than I am, said another, who stuck out his tongue. And absolutely worthless, said a third. Santa should send him away. Oh dear, look at the elves. They're all making fun of Alistair. That's not nice, is it? Alistair blinked his eyes quickly so he wouldn't cry. I don't belong here, he thought. I'm so little, even Santa won't like me. Then he pushed through the crowd and ran from the room. But Santa won't send me away, said Alistair, because he will never see me. Alistair kept running and running until he found a perfect place to hide, down behind the woodpile, in back of the reindeer pen. It was there that Alistair found a friend. My name is Nicholas, said an old elf, peering over the woodpile. What's yours? Alistair answered in a whisper. Nicholas shook his hand. I'm glad to know you, he said. Would you like to help me with the reindeer? And here is a picture of Alistair and the new elf friend. When Alistair nodded, Nicholas lifted him up on his shoulder, and the two of them went chattering and singing along while they fed and watered the reindeer. Here he is up on the big elf's shoulder. Alistair was so happy to find a friend that he returned to the reindeer pen the next day, and the next. Nicholas never minded if Alistair asked questions, and he never told Alistair that he was too small to help. While Nicholas cleaned the stalls, Alistair fed the reindeer apples. While Nicholas brushed the reindeer's coat, Alistair polished the harness bells. All the while, he told Nicholas stories, and together they sang to the reindeer. And here is Alistair feeding the reindeer an apple. They look so happy. But one morning, Nicholas was gone. Someone else was hauling the water. Someone else was cleaning the pen. Where is Nicholas? Alistair asked. Nicholas, indeed, said a grumpy elf who was busily swinging a pitchfork. He's up at the big house. Now go away. I have work to do. The big house, thought Alistair. But that's where Santa lives. Nicholas must be sick. He must be very sick if he's staying with Santa. And the thought of his friend in that big, scary house sent Alistair scurrying home to the safety of his bed. But he didn't sleep. He was worried about his friend Nicholas, and he missed him so much. He knew he'd have to see him. And here he is. He's not sleeping. He's standing on his bed, isn't he? Let's see what he does. So the next morning, Alistair packed a basket of fruit and started out for a visit. But the nearer he got to Santa's house, the slower his steps became. Finally, he stopped completely behind a Christmas tree in Santa's front yard. His heart was beating loudly. Suddenly, the door opened, and Alistair, more frightened than ever, dived beneath the pine tree. He heard footsteps, and he buried his head under his arms. He closed his eyes tightly and prayed that no one would see him. But someone jiggled his foot. "Hey there," said a voice. "You're not hurt, are you?" And here is Alistair under the tree. He buried himself under there so nobody would see him. Alistair let out a long, slow breath. He peeked out from under his arms. It was Nicholas! Alistair scurried out from under the tree and gave his friend a big hug. "Well, it's Alistair. I've missed you. And how are my reindeer? The week before Christmas is so busy, I don't have time to take care of them. Come inside and talk to me." And before Alistair could say a word, his friend had hoisted him up on his shoulders, and he began walking toward the house. "Oh, no," Alistair cried. "I can't go in there. Put me down." And he wiggled and squirmed so much that the old elf did put him down. "Can't go in where?" Nicholas asked. Alistair pointed toward the house. "And why not, may I ask?" Alistair said, "Because Santa won't like me, and he'll send me home." "Why would he do that?" asked Nicholas. "Because I'm little, and I can't do anything right, and—" The old elf interrupted. "Why, that's nonsense," he said. "You're a big help to me. In fact, I have a special job just for you." And here is the old elf Nicholas and Alistair. What do you suppose that job is, boys and girls? "A special job?" asked Alistair. "For me?" "Exactly right," said Nicholas. "You're coming with me this year when I make my deliveries." "Deliveries?" asked Alistair. The toys to the children on Christmas Eve," said Nicholas. "You see, it's a long trip and I get lonely. But you could come with me, Alistair. You're so small you'll fit in the sleigh. And you could tell me stories, and we could sing songs like we do in the reindeer pen." Here's Alistair and Nicholas, the elf, they're in the toy shop. Look at all those toys, boys and girls. Alistair's mouth dropped open. His eyes got big and round. "Then you're Santa Claus?" His friend bowed, also known as Saint Nicholas. Alistair began to back away. Then he stopped and grinned. "But I'm not afraid of you." "I'm glad," said the old elf. "Will you come with me on Christmas Eve?" "Oh, yes," said Alistair. There's Saint Nicholas, or Santa Claus, and Alistair, the little elf. That's exactly what he did, and it was the best Christmas Eve Alistair, or Santa, ever had. And here's a picture of them in the sleigh, boys and girls. Alistair got to go with Santa, and he wasn't afraid of him anymore, was he? And Alistair was a big help to Santa. Santa liked Alistair. I hope you like that story, boys and girls. The Littlest Christmas Elf. I like that story.